Ain't got this shit knocking though.
All right, you know what time it is. We are back with the Not So Cool podcast,
What episode?
volume 44.
44?
44.
Like, never mind.
44 Acres Homes.
Man, we got my partner, my homie, my friend.
I'm always here.
Oh my God. Junior Martin.
What's going on, y'all?
Slow clap.
Yes.
Slow clap. Slow clap.
What's good with you, man?
Man, another day in paradise. Happy to be here.
All right. That's dope, man. That's crazy. We got like a bajillion questions. I know the city wants to hear some stuff from you and everything. You want to hit him with the good old, where did it all start from and how did it begin?
No, yeah, hold on. But just for people who aren't familiar with you,
Mhm.
just want to give us like a little quick 2 or 3 minute backstory on,
Okay.
you know,
Who you are,
yeah.
what you do, like right now, currently.
Okay. Junior Martin's young entrepreneur in the city of Houston. We do everything from promoting the nightclubs to creating a Houston Appreciation Weekend for our boys Drake. Then we also have ownership in what you would call Prospect Park, Willowbrook, Turkey Leg Hut, Engine Room, Jet Lounge, and we sold Mercy Nightclub, but that is a club that we created and built from the ground up.
And when you say we, who are you talking about?
I just, I always like to include my team,
And what's the name of this team?
A-Life.
A-Life. All right,
Yeah,
all right.
so you're always going to just hear me say we. I don't like to say I because, it's not
Team
just
effort.
me.
Yeah, team
I respect that. That's
Yeah,
dope.
for
So
sure.
would you say you're the head of the organization, or just,
I mean,
in my opinion, I feel like you're more
Chief.
of the.
Chief.
I think you're more of the face. I won't say you're the head because I know other people in A-Life.
for sure. I think everybody plays their position, and my position deals with just me being more of the forefront, being out there, shaking hands, meeting people, and connecting the dots is kind of what I do. So yeah, I'm very passionate about it. So everybody on my team would be like, I'm probably the one that's waking up early in the morning, like rallying everybody up. Let's go to war.
He's like the politician and the leader at the same time.
He's
What's it say on the shoulder?
Chief. It says
Chief?
Chief.
I think it's a Nanjat thing. Hey. Oh, Junior Martin, but is your last name Martin?
Martins, yeah,
Martins.
Junior Martin. I know it's not the typical Nigerian name, but it is Nigerian.
You didn't know that?
No, what?
Oh, we got like.
No, I know he's Nigerian. Martin's. I never put 2 and 2 together because you and,
Oh, mine's is all
and,
over. Yeah,
and Greg has his last name.
yeah.
Toby's last name. I mean, all the other weddings that we've done.
Yeah.
Martin's just seems.
No, there's like I have a female friend. Her last name is Grace Rogers. Her first name is Grace Rogers, and then I have another friend. The last name is Johnson, and till like I got to college, that's when I was like, oh snap! Like there's Nigerian people with, full blown British last names or traditional, I guess, American last names. I didn't know that at all.
Well, it's like I find out more and more just being around.
Oh yeah, I bring them around all the time.
Look, like I said, that night in when we went to Jet Lounge, we were all in engine room. It was y'all two. We were all talking about the daughters.
Yeah. You remember that's the first time I think he's like had a close meeting with you. We were talking about if you get sent to Nigeria, that means you
catching a whooping.
Yeah. I just sit back and I just listen and observe. You see,
Yeah.
that's how most people don't even know I'm probably around. But
Yeah.
I just listen to all y'all stories, just chilling on the little sofa thing, just relaxing.
the
Listening.
way we grew up. If you are Nigerian and you're really bad, you're going back to Nigeria.
No, that's the first thing that they threaten you with.
Yes. So, like anybody who goes back to Nigeria, just know that they pretty much saved their life.
Yeah.
They were on that path.
For sure.
Yeah, man. So let's jump into the beginning and everything, man. So the first time I ever met you probably don't remember. You were somewhere. You had this big fur coat, and there was some static going on in the place, and I was like, "That was a big ass dude," and and you had a whole gang of dudes with you. And nobody fought. I mean, one, they saw that how big you were, and then everybody who was with you was really big. So nothing happened. So that was my first impression with you. Then the next time I saw you was working with Johnny Dang. Tell us about working with Johnny Dang, because from my understanding, Johnny Dang is one of the premier jewelers for hip hop right now.
Yeah, I mean, just coming in the game, Johnny probably gave me one of my first opportunities as far as paying me for what I do, as far as just marketing and branding and, being able to take brands and just make them strong is kind of, what I specialize in. So, I was around doing the whole grills epidemic, when Paul Wall and Johnny was selling grills and Nelly and, everybody was ordering $30,000-$40,000 grills. I was right there letting Johnny know, like, hey, Johnny, that's LeBron James. We need to go over there and holler at him. Or, yo, Johnny, that's DJ Khaled. Because, Johnny was straight from Vietnam. He ain't know who anybody was. He was just getting familiar with the culture. He didn't really know who the hip hop stars were. This kind of just blew up for him, and Paul was in the prime of his career. This is when Mike Jones and Paul Wall tipping on Fofo. So Paul wasn't worried about jewelry or grills like that. He was focused on his rap career. He's getting $30,000-$40,000 a show. So, Johnny was still out here trying to push the jewelry thing and trying to get it out there and knowing where to be and knowing, all the right places to be at, the clubs and, hey, this is an influencer in the city, or in Miami, this is somebody we need to go meet, So that's kind of the role that I played, was just, being those eyes and ears for Johnny, because he didn't know, so he knows now. But, if you go back, 10 years ago, Johnny Dang, him and his brothers from Vietnam, and they're just, working in a factory to, knowing all these celebrities. I mean, that wasn't there for him. So that's kind of what I brought to the team. And, that was another situation where I was working at like a call center or something like that. And he was just like, hey, what are you doing? What do you do? He was like, man, come work for me. He was like, quit your job, come work for me. Just do the clubs, pass out flyers for me. So I quit my job and I came on full time with Johnny, and he gave me an office in the back of his, right next to his office or whatever. So I was just, in charge of the whole marketing and branding, and we'll just be flying from city to city to Miami, and we'll be in video shoots and, all that stuff that, DJ Khaled, Holla at Me Baby with Rick Ross and all them. Like, we used to be heavy in Miami and just doing a lot of groundwork. And I think that's probably where, I got a lot of my just ambition, just seeing Johnny just work. He just always worked. And, it wasn't about, him shining per se. It was about him reinvesting and, constantly trying to build his brand,
Wowza.
So how does that happen? How do y'all two meet in the first place? Because, I mean, like you said, he came from Vietnam, and, his family working in the factory or whatever. So how does that, I mean, y'all seem like y'all are from two different roles.
Yeah, like, I want to hear the story.
How does that
Man, it was crazy because I was just a little kid, just like anybody else who liked jewelry, so I was just going up there looking at stuff that I, liked, and one day was hoping that I'll be able to afford and get, and like, how much is that? Or how much is that? I was just hanging around, and, we'll talk like, hey man, I'll pass out some flyers for you, or, just whatever, then, finally he was like, hey, well, shit, pass out some flyers. I got a job for you. But, Johnny being Asian and, me being black per se, shit, Johnny probably didn't let me come to his house for like 2 years. He was like, hell no, I'm not letting you know where I live. Nothing. He was like, meet me down the street. It could be something super important. He was like, I'm still not gonna let you just know where I live, like meet me at the gas station on the corner. But, eventually, I showed my trust, being around, millions of dollars worth of jewelry, You know, his whole entire family, you know, I was just there. You know, I'm at all the family events when his, you know, he had his kids, met his wife. You know, I'm eventually ended up being probably one of his best friends. You know, so I'm around him all the time. So you know, I knew everything about, you know, his personal life, you know, what was going on with, you know, him and his kids,
Yeah.
everything, you know. So it just naturally grew into that position, and the trust, you know, grew into where, you know, when we opened up the Galleria store, you know, I had a key, and, you know, I'm able to be around all the jury, and, you know, it's probably, you know, 15-20 million dollars worth of jewelry that you're trusting somebody with that you can, you know, just take and burn out.
And
So
during this time, how old are you around this? Like during the whole time
I
frame?
was probably about I would say about 22, 23 years old.
Okay.
You know,
That's a
I
lot
was
of
about
trust.
22,
Yeah, that's a
23
lot of
years old. Yeah,
trust.
for a young
That's a
person.
lot of trust.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I was exposed to a lot. I seen everything. You know, I traveled the world at a young age. You know, every city, just just going the United States. Let me say
Yeah.
that. You know, just being exposed to everything. But you know, it was always we were working. You know, even if we were at the club, it was to go meet somebody so we can build a relationship in order to get something accomplished. It wasn't just being in a club just to be in a club. You know, we were there for a purpose, and we were wherever we went, it was always a reason why we were there. So that's just coming from his background, and me coming from my background, we were able to understand each other, and just I had good parents around me. So I mean, he knew my mom very well. He didn't know my dad, but he knew my mom. He knew my brother, my sister. So he knew my whole entire family. At the end of the day, we were family. So eventually, it's a crazy story. Is the RPH situation, but
we're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that.
RPH is like an unrealistic, unbelievable situation.
Okay, you want I'll give him a little backstory. So RPH was Hunt, correct?
Yeah, Rodney Hunt.
Rodney Hunt. And from my understanding, he's like a multi-millionaire.
Yeah, multi-millionaire.
And you were doing. He had a record label. And he had. He's laughing. So he made him if I'm correct, CEO.
Correct.
Of the record label. And how did that go? What was that all about? Because I saw that was where you were with Johnny Dang,
mm-hmm.
and then from Johnny Dang you go to RPH.
Yeah.
So how did that happen? Let's hear the backstory.
Man, Rodney Hunt came from DC, and you Google him, you'll look at his story. It's crazy. But
I already Googled him.
Yeah. But I mean, he was worth $800 million. So yeah, he was worth $800 million, and he just showed up in Houston one day and showed up to Johnny and started buying jewelry from Johnny, and we started hanging out, of course,
Yeah.
So but eventually got to the point to where he was like, yo, you know what, I want to buy my jewelry through Junior, and I want Junior to make a % on all the jewelry that I buy. He was like, that's what he did with Johnny. And it was a crazy situation, man, because everybody wanted to be close to him. So everybody was willing to chop, even the employees everywhere, everybody was willing to chop the next man's head off just to get next to him, because he was such a generous person. So Ronnie had a son, that lived in Virginia, and he wanted to start a record label for his son. You know how that goes.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I got a lot of money. My son wants to rap. So, I'm there, and I knew all these people in the city. He was like, hey, why don't we start a record label? I was like, shit, all right. And then he wired probably like $100,000 to my account and was like, yo, go buy studio equipment and go buy it. I had no clue what I was doing at all. Like, no clue. And, everybody, and when I say everybody, and I'm talking about high profile in the city, but everybody was calling my phone in the city trying to get on, especially the people who were like really into the rap industry.
Yeah.
They was like, yo, like, put me on, like, give me a deal, because he was giving out money. I know he gave Big Pokey like $100,000, and $50,000 worth of jewelry, and he didn't even put out an album with him.
Yeah.
It was like he didn't really do anything. And, we were, me and Rogers was cool at the time. So I was going to Rogers' studio. I was giving Rogers checks for like $7,000-$10,000 for beats. And I don't know where none of these beats are, but I mean, I probably bought like, seriously, I mean, I'm in a studio. I'm just giving people money, as long as I just made sure, I had documentation. But even then, I mean, they never asked me for anything, but I was an honest person, man, so whatever it was, I would just pay them and keep it going. But Rogers made a lot of money. We made songs. Slim Thug, we was in there. Slim did 2 songs for us. We gave like Slim like 15 grand, Little Kiki, Lil Flip. I mean, we literally had every single artist in Houston came and got a check off this. So it was it was unrealistic at the time because, he was like, hey, you're like my son. So he gave me everything that he gave to his son. And it was, I had MacBooks, I had 2 apartments, I had 3 cars, and I was 23 years old. so I was like, I mean, I'd be looking at my bank account. He'll just wire $50,000 to my bank account. And, when his son came in town, his son would stay with me. So, I had to have all the proper accommodations to take care of his son, so that's what I did. So, and I mean, yeah, man, that was just a blessing for me. I mean, we would go to the jewelry store, or we'd go to Best Buy. When we went to Best Buy, I swear, this is a true story. We'd go to Best Buy, they would take us in a security room for checkouts because it was literally buying like 20 laptops, 20 iPads. It was stupid. Every bill would be like $40,000 on a checkout from Best Buy. So, I mean, it was just a blessed situation. Even my friends, my best friend Teddy was crazy, and he worked at Exxon. But I was like, hey, look, I need a security for the night. I was like, get off of work, go buy you some gloves from Academy, and I'm gonna get you this job. I paid Teddy $1,000. I paid him $1,000. He showed up at Hotel Derek. I won't forget. He had a black shirt on, black pants, and he had old gloves. He was just, standing there like he was a security person and never done security ever in his life. But that was just me looking out for my friends, paying them $1,000, and we actually hired security for the night. So it was just a good little look. But I wanted my friends to eat off of it and do well. But eventually, it came it came to end. But I think somebody had robbed him and took like $2 million worth of jewelry from him, and that was like his final straw. So he like
the RPH guy.
Yeah, they broke into his crib and they took his safe and had like $2 million worth of jewelry. Had all his jewelry.
The safe in Houston.
In Houston.
Oh yeah, I'll be done
at the hotel. And keep in mind on everything. Keep in mind he never got a house when he was out here. So he was out here for like 2.5 years, and he stayed in the hotel the entire time. Yeah. So at Hotel Derek, he'll rent out like 6 rooms, or he'll be at the Western. He'll go back and forth and literally just order whatever. It was crazy. It was unrealistic. But I mean, anybody who's seen it, I mean, they seen it and they know it was real. But
Mike, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, dude wired money to the car dealership and was like, "Hey, go pick you out a car." He's like, "Go pick you out a car," and literally, it was me and two girls that he was messing with or whatever. So whoever his cousin called me and was like, "Hey, Junior, whatever you doing, stop what you're doing right now and go to the dealership, because whoever get there first is gonna get to spend whatever they want to on the car, and then everybody else will have to just spend whatever's left." Yeah. So I burnt to the dealership, got there, and it was one girl. She had beat me to the dealership, and she was trying to get her car. She was about to drive off, but she didn't have no insurance. So she didn't have no insurance, so she couldn't leave with the car. So I was like, man, this is my lucky day. So I ended up being able to pick out the car that I wanted. I got a Dodge Challenger. That's when the Challengers.
They just came out again.
Yeah, they just. But it was a Chevy dealership. It was a Chevy, so I couldn't get a 550 or nothing like that. So I had to get something like that. But that was the best car, and it had just came out. So it was like and it was cash, paid for.
I think it's free.
Yeah, it was a free car. Literally, it was a free car.
Junior, now what would you? Now that you're grown, what would you have got?
Man, I would have just kept the money. I would have took the car and sold it and kept the money. I was burning through that money too. It was literally just, I mean, I was too young to understand what was going on at all. I didn't do nothing with them, and I just literally ran through it.
I think we all had our time and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
for sure. But
So-
no regrets, man. We have fun. We live life. We did our thing. So.
Do y'all still talk?
Man, his son follows me on Instagram, but I don't think him and his son have the same relationship. I don't know where Mr. Hunt is at all, but no, we don't communicate, But I mean, if I ever saw him again, I would definitely tell him thank you.
Yeah.
But I think he went bankruptcy or something like that. But I know if you Google his name, you look up Virginia, he had the largest foreclosure on his house in Virginia history. The largest
he was going hard.
Yeah, he was going, I think his house was worth like 20-30 million, and it was the largest foreclosure in Virginia history ever.
And the crazy thing, if you think that's a historically racist state, and for a black man to be flexing like that, that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, he owned like the 12th largest black-owned company in the nation. It was a pretty, I forgot exactly what he did. I didn't really care, but and it was crazy because he had all these people that was flying in from DC that he used to give money to when he was out there in the DMV, and that was working for him. They were all like coming to me trying to figure out like what's going on. They even put him in like a mental hospital for like a week, because he was just going
so generous.
Well, he was just going crazy. He was spending money. It was like I always say, it's unrealistic because I know it'll never happen again, but it really was. It was crazy.
Sheesh. So how do you go from RPH to RPH? I think you guys went to your first venue was on San Jacinto, or am I wrong? Or do I need to backtrack?
Well, it was crazy because when the RPA situation ended, it was out of the blues. I didn't get a warning or anything like that. So it went from me getting $50,000 wires to nothing, So, I had to figure out what was going to be my next step and figure out what I was going to do. And I don't think I was mentally prepared to do anything. I didn't have a plan B. I was just living. So, when that happened to me, I had to sit down and just come up with a plan on, how I was gonna pay my bills, and luckily my lease was up, so I was like moved back in with my mom for a little bit. I stayed with my mom probably for, probably like a year. Nobody knew what was going on. So, I still had my jury, and that was kind of like the main thing, people want to see is like, yeah, you can tell when somebody falling out when their watch start going missing and their chains go. It's like, I knew people was watching, they was waiting, and I was like, I maintained all that. And, I just got back in the club game. I did my stage with Johnny, because I was doing Johnny in the club and I gave up the club stuff. And then, I went into RPH, and so I just went back to the club stuff. And then that's when we kind of orchestrated Aristocrat Life. So when I was done with RPH, it was like Aristocrat Life. And then we just got A-Life going, and it was on and popping.
So how long has that been around exactly, like A-Life?
A-Life only been around for probably, I want to say about 6 years or 7 years.
Let's give him the name before it became A-Life.
Yeah,
what was it before?
It was La Familia.
Right.
La Familia.
And that's been around since when?
I would say about 12, 13 years.
So all in all, A-Life really's been around 13, 14 years.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, dope.
And it's like I was doing Nigerian parties and La Familia was doing American parties, and I didn't like, we only did those type of events, and my brother and them, they left. I was doing it with my brother, and they left to school, so I was still here. So that's when me and Jonathan partnered up. And
so now we're at A-Life, and that's rolling and that's pumping. So could you give us a little progression on that?
What aspect? Like what you like?
Well, all right. So first venue, and then the next venue. Like, give us a rundown of some of the venues and how it gets to Prospect Park.
I mean, it just, we've done so many venues in the city. Is I don't even know where to start, but
let's do the Sky Bar.
Sky Bar,
because I think is that the first time you went into ownership?
It's actually the second time we went into ownership. So the first building that we invested in and bought into was Empire.
Yeah. On San Jacinto.
Yeah, Empire on San Jacinto. We went in there. It was two guys sitting in the building. They didn't know what to do with it, so we went in there and put like $50,000 into the building, and did a partnership agreement where we shared the profits, and we promoted it and redesigned the venue. They had the liquor license, and we just partnered up on the deal, and that was our first deal. And then we did New Year's Eve, and Scott Gardner was creating his new venue called Scott Pavilion, and he was selling shares to investors. And at that time, Andre Johnson's uncle and Matthew Knowles and a few other prominent people in the city were, they had put up, 500, 1.5 million into his venue. So I'm like, shit, let me get on the bandwagon too. So long story short, we invested into that brand as well. But crazy part is we didn't even make a penny back from that venue. We just lost all our money, and it was hard at that time. So it was like took $50,000 and lost it all.
I want you to explain to like creatives, entrepreneurs, everything, how that loss helped you out.
Man, to be honest with you, I think the biggest thing is, I'm such a, it's kind of like you either go hard or you go home. You know what I mean? So a lot of times, you just got to put it all on the line. You got to just, that amount of money that we invested in the Scott Pavilion was all the money we have saved up at that time, but we believed in it, so when you believe in something, you gotta, if you're not willing to put all of it up for it, then you don't truly believe in your product, so you gotta be willing to go all the way in. And, for us to go all the way in, we just knew that, all right, you go in, you win, you lose, but bounce back. So, just from me being in a game, I think the biggest setback for a lot of people is that they invest money and then they lose it, and then they go running. They take off, and I'm like, all right, cool. Like, competition's gone. He lost his money, and he doesn't want to keep it going, and you can't deal with it. I mean, so we just did, we did our A-Life weekend with Fab and Slim and them, and we had almost $40,000 on the line. At Mint, brand new club, opening up. It was 10:30 and the lights blew out at 10:30. Right when the doors is open, lights blew out. And we had 40,000 up, and we lost 40 grand. Like 40 grand. And don't get it twisted. I'm not in a position to be losing 40 grand. It's 40,000. I worked hard for it, but it happens. And we're not gonna sit back home and cry. It's like, all right, cool. We got to get back out here and we got to go hard. We got to make this money that we lost back. We got to put it back. So you got to go back out there and you got to hustle twice as hard because you lost money and you got to make it back. So the main thing is not to give up. If it's either you truly believe in it or you don't believe in it. And if you don't all the way believe in it, then don't do it. Don't do it for the money. We never do anything for money. That's not what we do. Don't get it twisted. You have to make money, but we do things that we're truly passionate about. We fill voids, and that's what A-Life is. That's what Prospect Park is. That's what Turkey Lake Hut is. These are brands that we truly believe in. We like, we enjoy the experience of it. When people come to Prospect and, you're able to come smoke a hookah and drink and listen to hip hop music or listen to, live music and, see pretty girls and, a cool place for you and your friends to hang out. It's just
that boy marketing right now.
It's like, it's almost, when I look at A-Life, I look at the culture, of Houston. When you look at a lot of the things that we've created, it kind of sets the standards of, what just goes on in the city, from, waitresses and bottle girls. Like when we were coming up, it wasn't black waitresses in a nightclub. It was, you went to the club and you got your club and you promoted, and it was whatever waitress was in there, that's who you dealt with. But, when we actually went and got our own venues and we brought in our own bartenders and we brought in our own waitresses and, we made them all promoters, that changed the whole nightlife culture. Huh?
You set a standard.
Yeah, we set a standard, and everybody had to adapt to it because they were like, hold on, I can't compete with A-Life because A-Life has 15 waitresses and 6-7 bartenders. They got 25 girls promoting their night on social media, and it's just me and 2 people, 3 people promoting. So, we recreated the whole game to where if you even wanted to come in here and you want to try to compete on our level, you had to, meet those standards.
Where did you draw that from initially?
Man, to be honest with you, the first person to just tell me to do that is JR, Sticky Promo. It was just a random conversation. He was like, "Man, you need to get your own waitresses." And at that time, I don't think he realized what he told me, but it was like a ding went off in my head. I was like, "Man, hold on." Then I just turned around and and I never gave him credit for telling me, so he's probably. But yeah, he did tell me that.
Was he already doing his own thing?
He was doing his thing.
Okay.
JR was killing it on his side, and I was I was killing on my side. We was actually, the crazy thing is, me and JR were supposed to do Empire together, and the first day that he came over there, he got into a big fight with our partners that we were working with. So it was like a brawl, and it was like it ended up being bad, but he's somebody that I totally respect, what he's done in the game, and just having the opportunity to work underneath him and seeing what he had going on, it just opened my eyes when I seen him, and I was like, dang, he's doing all this, like, oh man, I could do the same thing. So I mean, it was all about exposure, and
then I was gonna say, you've been to all these different cities, you've been to Atlanta,
for sure,
Miami, New York, so. Well, did you pull any inspiration?
Definitely.
From
I mean, that was the whole thing. The whole vision was like, man, let's go to Atlanta, let's go to Vegas, let's go to Miami, let's go see how it's done in these cities. Let's go see, the bottle presentations, how the DJs are, how the MCs, how they make you feel when they're walking you through the club, and the security has their light and they're telling people to move out the way. What kind of feeling does that give you? And that's what we brought back to the city, and I see everybody uses a lot of it now. So that's how I know it's like,
it was something good.
Yeah, So I mean, to me is, a lot of people take what we do in the city, and I used to be like, it used to bother me, but now I just kind of embrace it. Like, hey, that's what it is. If we set the standard, and everybody's gonna come in and want to duplicate a Prospect Park, or want to duplicate an A-Life and wear A-Life on your chest and your hats, and none of that stuff existed before us, and it all goes on now. So
I mean, essentially, when you make the standard up higher, so when people come to Houston and say they do miss out on coming to one of your events, and they go to something else, and it's still a good event, and it's still, at the standard, that's good for the whole city. Now that's a person who's going to come back.
For sure.
Versus they come and they only go to your stuff, like say, back in the day when there wasn't a standard, and it was you guys doing it, say they missed out and didn't go to your stuff and they went somewhere else, they're like, I don't know about Houston. That's
and that's one of the things too that we brought to the city, was just the whole celebrity aspect of it. Like we wanted
to talk about that.
Yeah, it was celebrities coming, but not on that level, not where we had them back to back. And we pretty much want to turn Houston into a B-list market, from a B-list market to an A-list market. So just seeing how AG did it, seeing how Kenny Burns was doing in Atlanta, and they actually gave us a walkthrough. I think that was the biggest thing, is when me and Jonathan went to Atlanta, and AG, showed us how he was running 3 nightclubs in one night, and we got to see that and was like, wow, this dude has 3 different nightclubs all going on at the same time.
So people who don't know who AG is, probably one of the most prominent nightlife hospitality people in not Atlanta, let's say country.
For sure.
Like we could say,
with all due respect, for sure.
Yeah, so he's one of the most prominent, and then Kenny Burns is. Kenny transitioned at first. He was just an influencer and just working with different brands. But I mean, he's like an AG pretty much too. I mean, he's a promoter without being a promoter. But he's my mentor. So shout out to Kenny.
Yeah, shout out to Kenny. He's done so much for me. I definitely wouldn't be in the position I am right now without him just mentoring me and telling me, hey, Junior, take that off Instagram right now.
So how do we get to Ha? How does
Jesus,
H?
can I ask a question?
I'm sorry.
God, please. No, go ahead.
Fred,
Go
stop
ahead.
talking. Mike, go ahead. Go ahead, Mike. I apologize.
So one of the things that I was I've always been curious about is just how did that relationship with Jazz Prince start, the relationship with Drake start, and how did y'all come together to bring Ha to implement A-Life, Ha? Because I mean, the first year was for sure, I think one of the biggest Ha. They definitely did something for the city. It's like y'all were saying, it's at a standard. Now I think there's a lot of people that do look forward to that when it comes to celebrity basketball games, softball games, or whatever it may be. How does that happen?
Okay, well, I mean, one is, obviously Jazz is responsible for, discovering Drake, and, me and Jazz work closely together. I do pretty much 95% of the events that he does out here, so we just work hand in hand, and our relationship just was natural. He was comfortable with me. He knew that if he was to put an event in my hands, that I would be able to execute and give him the look, and make sure that all the pointers were hidden, everything was in place, just like he wanted. So it was like us just having an understanding that, hey, Junior's my guy. This is the guy who's gonna get the job done. At the end of the day, that's just what it is. That I know that I can trust in Junior to get the job done. He's not gonna disappoint us and let us down. One time Drake did get mad at me. He called and cussed me out. It was so humbling though. It was funny, but at the time it wasn't funny at all. But, he did get mad at me, because, he felt like he gave his word, and he didn't feel like I executed what he promised the people it would be. Yeah. And I took responsibility, but it was literally 45 minutes of being on the phone, getting chewed out, and like, yeah, this is Drake. So it was humbling. Like I said, even for me, and I tell all the people that work with me and all my staff and all my employees, I still have people that I have to answer to too, and make sure that I deliver the product and the brands and the looks, that they want. It's not just all about me, it's other people that are in, higher power that, I respect. So, I mean, like I said, me and Jazz have been working together probably about 8 years, just strong, we've done every celebrity, Lil Wayne, just anybody you could think of. I mean, we pretty much had our hands on, and we've done some type of event for them, and it's been successful, and our last event we did was Migos. We did Cardi B. So I mean, for him, me to be on the grounds and me come in and make sure that everything is done, and he gets to just fly in, everything's handled. He does what he does, and he flies back out, and I handle all the groundwork. So I mean, it works real good. And then Drake, with his influence being from Houston so much, and him just having so much to do, with Houston have so much to do with, his career and stuff like that. He wants to do something to just give back to the city. At the end of the day, I know we do a lot of partying and stuff like that, but, Houston Appreciation Weekend was created to just give the city excitement, just fun, something cool to do, and not be about Drake though. It's not about Drake. It's about Houston. This weekend we're having fun, because before that we didn't have any weekends in the city. I mean, you had Vince Young 10 years ago.
We had the Kappa, we had Juneteenth.
You know what I'm
saying? But talking about giving to the city, A-Life, the A-Life Foundation. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Man, A-Life Foundation is just me and my friends. It's not necessarily everybody who promotes with us. It's just me and some of my close friends that I give back, and I just ask them to help out. Like my cousin, he's a CPA, so he came in. Tito, shout out to him. But I mean, he helped us create and do all the paperwork and Sherwin, everybody's on his team, just to get the ball rolling. Because at first we were just doing random acts. We were just going out and helping out, but we didn't have anything solidified on paper. So they actually came in and helped us, create a 501(c) and become official, and taxes and all
Free
that stuff
game,
like
y'all.
that. So
Free game.
we're just not out here just handing out plates on the side of the street and stuff like
So
that.
how was it reading to the kids?
Man,
Did you use the
some
same
kids
thing?
are smarter. They like, I be like, man, hold on. I have to go in there, like, let me take a look at this book real quick, see what kind of words is up here before I start reading these books, man. But it's when you just hear, the stories of these kids and you forget sometimes, where, the struggles you dealt with and where you came from, and you just hear, some of them, just growing up and not having the proper guidance, and, some of the young ladies, just some of the experiences that they go through, is, it's heart touching, it's like, man, how can I not, be involved in that? And me just, having the opportunity to be able to go back to my high school, Hastings, and be able to give a scholarship to another student for them, to go to college with is just, that's a blessing, everything that's going on is just been a blessing. I don't take anything for granted. And, anytime we do anything of any type of charity or something like that, is always the goal is to go back the next year and do it better, so it's like, yo, if we give away $1,000 this year, hey, next year I want to give away 2,000. How can we, every school I was like, man, how can we be more involved? How can we give back more?
So one of the things that just hearing you talk about everything that I notice is a lot of people seem to trust you.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you go from Johnny Dang to RPH to like Jazz Prince, Drake, all these people like seem, trust, which I mean, that's you seem to get the job done. Who do you go to? Like who are the people around you that you can say like, yo, like I need this, I need that? Because clearly A-Life and everything you've been doing, like you said, it's a team, it's a we. Like how do you keep like your team involved, and how do you keep them, like how does that trust build?
Even though you're like the face, how do you not keep the disconnect? And because sometimes when people are in a group and everything, and you're the face, and so how important am I, or he could do it, or how do you keep the morale and the culture going in A-Life to keep it pumping?
Man, to be honest with you, it's hard. You have to do a lot of self-education on just people and understanding people. And, I'm like LeBron James, I'm the guy that's yelling on people on the court, you know what I'm saying? So, you don't want to end up in a situation where you have Kyrie Irving leaving because, you're doing too much, and a lot of times, that's me, I catch myself maybe, poking at the person too much when it's like, all right, you poked at him enough, leave him alone, but, I'm passionate about what I have going on. And, at the end of the day, nobody on my team is going to be like, yo, Junior told me to go left when I'm really supposed to go right. It's, hey, get your ass up and let's make something happen. Like, there's no reason for you to be broke. There's no reason for you to be in that position. Like, even if you got to do fucking valet, go out there and do the fucking valet. You're not too big. It's like, I worked at McDonald's, I worked at Kmart. I did every single thing on a bottom level total pole that you can do. I passed out flyers for free. Like, that was my whole thing, was like, yo, give me, Rogers would tell you, like, I was driving to the north side, like, yo, just put me on, just give me an opportunity. I don't want money, just give me an opportunity to get in there and see what's going on. I wanted just the opportunity, and a lot of people, that's their concerns is, hey, I'm worried about, money, even with the Summer 16 tour when we did with Jazz and Drake, not Jazz, with Drake, and he did the whole Summer 16, was booking after parties. Like, I wasn't worried about me making money on the after parties that I was booking for Chubbs or Jazz or Drake. I was just like, let me get the opportunity to even be in a circle where I'm even in the group chat and we're talking about Drake and where he's going, or OVO and the after party. It's about the opportunity, and a lot of people can't see the bigger picture of that. And, it's not all about compensation at that time. If you do what you're supposed to do and you go hard, the money's going to come. You know, if you're working hard before, by the time you look up and you see what's going on, you're gonna be like, damn, you know, because I mean, I remember people asking me like, you know, how much do you make, and they'll send out them. I'm like, nigga, I don't make that much money. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck you think I got going on? You know, and the amount of money that, you know, that person mentioned me at that time, you know, I make more money than that now. So, but it was unrealistic. You know what I'm saying? For me to see that at that time, but you know, I was just working so hard at what I truly believed in. By the time I looked up, it was like, whoa, you know, it's like when we even went on Ball Alert, you know, it was like 3 years ago, and they listed Aristocrat Life as top 5 promoters in the United States. That was surprising for me because I didn't even know Ball Alert knew who we were.
Yeah.
You know, so for me to just see our names listed along with the guys that do Live on Sunday and AG out of Atlanta, and you see Aristocrat Life top 5 in the United States of America, you know, that was like, wow. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it was just, and that happened on New Year's Eve. So it was like, you know, we're getting ready for New Year's Eve, we're planning this party out, and Ball Alerts dropped it. That was just big for me because we got recognized for, you know, all this hard work that we put in, even though it wasn't a big deal, you know, for us not to be. It was just like somebody actually recognized that we were putting on for our city, you know, and that was like, you know, that was a big thing for me, and that was something that we were all excited about, and we're still excited about it. So, you know, like I just tell people, just go hard, man. Don't worry so much about the money.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And don't do things for money. You know, it's just, you know, it's gonna get hard. It's not gonna be easy. And
Yeah,
you know,
if you're doing it for the money, you will quit.
You're
when
gonna
the money
quit.
doesn't come.
I seen everybody. They just quit. You know,
I
and
mean,
it's just-
I've been in business ventures, and I legit was doing it for money. And when I was like, yo, it didn't work out how I wanted it to work, and I'm done on this. But if I really loved it, like photography, I've been doing, I don't know,
Yeah.
since I met you, I've been taking pictures. I love photography. That's the only reason I'm able to keep pushing and keep grinding.
Mm-hmm.
And what you do, you know, with the hospitality and everything else that you do, you know, with your venues and everything, you truly love doing all those things. That's crazy, and to see the growth,
Yeah.
like for me personally, seeing the growth, it's like it's amazing.
For sure. I mean, it's you know, you gotta think about it. You know, how we were, you know, we was just regular promoters at, you know, school, passing out flyers, going to Prairie View, going to TSU, going to Lamar, you know, putting flyers on people's cars in the middle of the night while they were sleeping, you know, just hitting every single car though. That was one thing. We was, you know, once it hit 1 a.m., we would hit Prairie View, and we was putting cars at every single car that was at PV. Nonstop. We weren't tripping. We was going hard. You know, and then now you have, you know, almost 250 people on staff that's working with you, and you're just
You have
like,
200 employees?
yeah, it's over 200 employees. It's crazy, you know. I mean, it's
And now, you know, anytime Drake is having like some special event, you'll look up and you'll be like, oh, there's Junior.
no, it's everything's been a blessing, man. You know, the biggest thing for me right now is to help out the next generation of people. I don't want to be the guy who is trying to keep all the light or not help out this dude, you know, and that's why you see people like Bird able to work with us, and you see people like Labo and Quan, and you see Tay Mitch and Mikos, and you know, all of the other guys. You know, we don't want to be at war or, you know, at any differences with anybody. Everything is to be, you know, fun and enjoyable, and help out these guys. You know, they all do events at our venue, and you know, we give it to them like it's theirs. You know, we're not gonna be, hey, this is my venue. It's like, yo, this is my home. This is your home. Here's the key. You have it. You know, what can I help you with? And that's what we do. You know, and that's why, you know, I think we're in a position that we're in. You know, we're not, you know, trying to keep anybody down, or, you know, we've seen, I've had, you know, bartenders go from, you know, my bartender at Prospect Park is the general manager at, you know, Mercy, and
So there's space to grow within the company.
space to grow. You know, we create leaderships. If you really look at our brand and what we have going on, it's like only the best. You know, the best comes from us. You know, like I said, you know, the general manager at Mercy, she was a bartender with A-Life, you know, and she worked with us for 6 years, and she's the general manager. went from a bartender to a bar manager to the general manager. You look at Anna, she's the general manager at Engine Room. She came from, just being over recruiting at Prospect Park, and she got into a general manager position. If you look at Tay, she's the general manager at Rose Gold. She was the bar manager at Engine Room, and she was just a bartender with, A-Life. So if you look at the trends of, just people and coming from our umbrellas, if you even look at, if you want to go,
hit me, I'll give you mine. So from at one point in time, because everybody knows I work with InTheMix.com.
For sure.
And at one point in time, Kim wouldn't do none of your events.
Mm-hmm.
It was always me who
Correct.
was doing everything with them. So as they were progressing, I got to progress along with them as well. And that's the loop. That's
the relationship.
Yeah, Rogers takes me on to all the other stuff that I'm doing. So just, you've helped, the organizations you guys have going on has helped so many people grow. You could like you're doing right now, you're doing like a tree, but you'll be surprised how many other people, if they grew with the organization, got a chance to go on and do bigger and better things. But because you do like promotions and you're talking about the future and everything like that, I wanted to ask you, how important is digital marketing?
Man, digital marketing is like the newest challenge for I guess everybody, it's something new, that, everybody's taking on. And I feel like, some are better than others, but, I keep a good team of people around me. So I'm going to keep somebody around me that knows what's going on. That's like, hey, me, Milan, shout out to her, that's like my little sister, but she's been on me like, Junior, clean up your page. Junior, do this. You got to do that,
We've talked about this, and that's kind of the premise of the Not So Cool, that like in real life, you have a name.
For sure.
But essentially, it doesn't automatically translate to the internet.
At all. So
that's why I'm asking you. So how important is it taking your brand from real life and then translating?
Digital marketing. That's a great question. I think it's very important to your brand, especially for the new millennials, to just, know who you are. Like even with all that I've done in the city, and you still meet, new people, and they're like, oh, wow, I never heard of you. And I remember the other day, like last week, a girl just asked me, is A-Life new? Well, why am I just not hearing about it? So, you just have to understand that, you always have work to do. Your job's never done. So I think it's huge. It's very important. I think I was behind on accepting the fact that it was very important because I wasn't on it, and I'm probably still not on it like I should be. But, that's all about, hey, what do you care about most? It's like, hey, are you going to wake up and, wake up an hour early so you can work out? Or are you going to wake up an hour early so you can, get on top of your social media and dedicate the time and allocate the time that it's going to take to make sure, that you have the proper content and platform for social media? Because, that's another allocation of time. So you can't just mix it up in your day. You gotta, if you're waking up at 7, you might have to just wake up at 6:36 now, so you can have time to put together content and make sure you're on point with that.
Yeah. What time you wake up for real though?
Man, I try and wake up as early as possible. Right now, I'm in between 7 and 8 a.m. That's yeah, I'm between 7 and 8.
But you got to keep in grand scheme what time he goes to bed.
Yeah, see, man, you see, the thing is right now, my whole goal is to be a better person, and that's in all aspects. So that's, smelling good, looking good, working out good, eating good, in relationships with girls, not just, having bad fallouts, having, people you talk to and making sure that, everybody around you is going to be an advocate, of you. So it's like, hey, I can even have him not like me, or I can have him like me, so I might have to go this extra measure, this extra step to make sure that, as many people like me as possible. That's kind of like my goal. I just want to be that person at this point in my life. I don't want people to walk around with, hate in their heart or have anything, ill to say about me. And, I used to
You
be,
used to be infamous.
yeah, I'm kind of like, I was that person like, I don't give a fuck about them, fuck them. You know what I'm saying? So, it's just that changes because you're around certain people and certain people influence you, and, the people that I'm around at this point in my life, that's what we're on. We're all about, doing better and love and, not having a whole bunch of people mad at you and, showing your appreciation. And, I try and, get like yesterday I was at Starbucks, getting me Starbucks. I ended up spending, $200 just like, man, let me get some people on my staff some gift cards. So, when next time I see them, like, hey, go a gift card. It's just, it's things like that you just have to do at this point in my life that I feel that, that are fulfilling and bring excitement to me. So that's what I'm on. I'm just trying to be a better person all the way around. I got a lot of work to do.
So how important? So touching on that about the people you keep around you, I know you mentioned Kenny. He's, I guess you call him a mentor right now. How important is that to you? Still keeping a mentor, like you seem to constantly be progressing still from Johnny Dane to now.
Yeah.
How important is it to you?
Man, it's huge because life is all about decision making, and any decisions that you want to make, I can make one simple decision that can cause a whole situation to go left just by me saying, when I see Fred, I'm going to tell him this, and if you don't have the right person there to tell, hey, don't do that. It's kind of like when you look at Drake's situation, it could get real ugly and real bad. But if you don't have the right people to say, hey, yeah, whatever happened, let's keep it moving. It is what it is at this point, but if you keep going, it could get ugly. But you got to have smart people around you to tell you that, hey, you have too much to lose to be over there with them. If not, then, you're going to keep going and you got all these, little knuckleheads like, yeah, go, and then you go and then you look at yourself, or you can just be like, man, hey, I'm just going to, take a different approach. So it's, man, your team and having the right people around you is so critical. If I study great organizations and great groups. I feel like when you look at people like LeBron, it's not just LeBron James. Look who's behind him. Look at his best friend that he sent to law school and, runs his agency for him. And same thing with, unfortunately you had this situation with Drake. But if you Google him and you look at his team, they classify his team as a genius team, because that's what it is. So when you look at, great teams or a great person and you see who's behind them, then you'll understand like what's the true importance of making sure that you have good people around you. That's critical on just every, just decisions. I know it's things that I've done or said that could have just been handled in a different manner if I would have just took a different approach, or if I would have had somebody right there to be like, hey, nah, don't do that. No, I understand. Hey, we're not gonna let you be ignorant. All right. So it's like, you gotta have those people around you that I call, be like, man, look, this person just Junior, what the, bro, look how stupid that is. It's like you're arguing with something so small that you just be like, who cares? Who cares at that? So that's my mindset with a lot of things. Is like,
but you have something to lose.
Yeah. So
you have to get, once you are aware that you have something to lose, I think you start to move it a little differently.
For sure, 100%. And I hate to make reference to Drake's situation, but look at it. If you didn't learn so much, you have to have learned so much from it. Is you can't talk to small people like that. Like, you can't get in war with them because you're the one who has something to lose. So you can't do it. Period. It's just, you get to a certain level and you just got to let it go, no matter what, because nobody cares what he says about Pusha T. It's all about you. We care about you. We want to know about you. Nobody, Pusha T doesn't have any money. Okay, nigga, we don't care. We don't know about this baby. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, hey, you just got to be careful, and
so as a businessman, you feel that he took the right approach by deading it at this point?
Yeah, too much on the table.
Well,
you can't even.
He didn't dead it.
Let me tell you this. You got to understand. When you become a brand and you're like that, you have so much on the table that you can lose.
Yeah.
And nowadays, everything's on social media. So, imagine
It
if,
doesn't go away.
imagine if that would have been whatever disease that is that 40 has, if Drake would have said that about Pusha T's friend, all the people that have that disease and stand up for it, they would have went crazy if Drake would have said that.
I mean,
I mean,
it'd been the end of them.
yeah, you got somebody who's living with a real condition and you're dissing it. So you got activists for that. You got people that are fighting by that. You can't do that. It's like, look when Rick Ross said, Molly all in my champagne, all in her champagne. Molly in her champagne. You can't, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can't do that. You have big companies that are putting their brand,
In
next
your
year.
hands, yeah.
So
Or
you
lying,
can't, you got endorsement, you got money on the line. So, you just got to understand you can't do certain stuff. I can't be on Instagram arguing with promoters. My staff is going to look at me crazy. They're going to be like, this is the owner saying this?
Yeah,
it's
wilding out.
it's like, what? He's saying crazy shit on the internet, So, I'm always mindful of that. I don't even curse on Instagram. I don't do stuff like that just because.
Social media.
Huh?
I don't curse on social media.
Yeah, I don't put anything crazy. I don't put on there. Just because I know people look up to what I have going on, and people are watching. So you just got to be mindful. As much as you just like, man, I just want to be a regular person. Just like, hey, Johnny, nah, bro, you can't do it. So it's what type of energy, what kind of how do you want people to view you? That's what matters to you. So.
Yeah. Man, pretty much we're gonna wrap this one up, man, because we've asked you just from top to bottom, man. You putting us on so much, man. I appreciate it, man.
For sure.
Yeah, everything. We know your social. This guy's crazy, man. But before we do get up out of here, like, what's next?
Man,
Now I want to hear project. I don't want to hear like philosophical stuff.
God's hands. We just gonna leave everything in God's hands, man. Right now we're actually working on purchasing a building that Prospect sits on. So we're in the middle of that. We have Prospect Park, Dallas, Prospect, Atlanta. And then, I want to do a Nigerian restaurant.
First.
Yeah. So, it's a lot on the table. It's kind of like right now we're about to put everything on the calendar and just start setting dates for when we want to get these things accomplished by. But everything's in the works. These are the next things that we have that we're going to do. So right now, for the last 5 years, I've invested into companies and brands. It's like I made money, and then we went from, Prospect Park. Then we opened up Interim. After Interim, we opened up Mercy. After Mercy, we opened up Turkey Leg. And then we opened up Prospect Park, Willowbrook. It's like, all these takes time and energy, and it takes money. So it's like I'm kind of on chill mode real quick because I have to allocate so much time and energy to go in there and create systems and formulas and stuff like that. So, but yeah, up and coming. It's gonna require for me to move to Dallas for a little bit or go to Dallas a lot. Exactly, and I'm not ready to just be waking up and flying out there. But who knows?
That's the journey, though.
Yeah, that's the next thing, is expanding, So, but Dallas is definitely next on the board.
Oh man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I've always said that it should go I've always said Prospect Park needs to go nationwide because it's a good thing.
Yeah, we just, it's not financially understanding. It's all about making sure you have structure in place. You don't want to be in Houston and then they're like, yo, it's going crazy out here, and you're like
standards.
Yeah,
that's it.
So we want to create the culture. So when we go out there, it runs itself. All our businesses right now, they all run themselves. It doesn't require for us to be there. I could go a month and not go in there, and all the transactions happen. Everything goes smoothly. So, if you're going to go to Dallas, you want it to be the same thing to where it runs and it operates itself and it's not requiring for you to go in there. So right now we're actually in the process of building a like district manager that's going to be responsible for
you're
doing all that stuff like that.
You're giving them too much, man. Too much.
So all that, man, and it's work. It's a journey,
But y'all hiring though?
Yeah, hey, anytime, hey, listen, if I didn't have no money, give me a bar back position. I'm ready to work. I just need an opportunity. That's just me. I would never, even if I lost it all, I wouldn't trip. I would go get on the grind and get back at it, and I know I would be able to make it happen again. So.
Yeah, I believe that. Once you've done it once, you know how to do it again. So.
For sure. Man, thank y'all though.
Nah,
thank you for real. We really appreciate it, man.
All right, man. Thank y'all for having me. Y'all have a good one.
Yeah. Thank y'all for tuning in to the Not So Cool podcast where we keep. Damn, I always mess this. I was doing it good 2 weeks in a row. Thank y'all for tuning in to the Not So Cool podcast where we make not being cool cool. Or is it real if I don't say it in the regular voice? It's not real? It's good. Don't tease me later. Thank you for tuning in to the Not So Cool podcast where we make not being cool cool.